Hi everybody! One more video before dinner. Can we do it? It's 5 o'clock. I have to leave in about an hour, so this will be quick. Headed out to my support group. But I wanted to do a video on, I guess, just my thoughts on creativity in general. I was gonna do something specifically on a creative arts therapy that I've been involved in for a while called voice movement therapy. But I might just talk briefly about my singing background for now and sort of my thoughts on the creative arts, and especially in therapy. So I started singing when I was, I went to the choir. I started doing choir in seventh grade because my parents were like, "You need an activity," and I had like no interest besides like sitting and really doing nothing, playing with little toys. That was literally it. Um, and they wanted me to play the clarinet, and I tried that for a little while, but it didn't really work out. It was really hard for me to play, and I didn't really enjoy it very much. So I did chorus and band at the same time, and I realized I really liked chorus. But problem was, I really didn't have a great sense of pitch. I had a very limited range, and I had a hard time um, singing the right notes. It just I couldn't produce the right pitches a lot of the time. And I didn't really have an awareness that that was what was going on for a while. So I loved to sing, but I would always, it was very difficult. So I did sing in the choir from seventh grade through ninth grade, and it was cool. I had a lot of trouble with the movement aspects when we would do dance and, clap your hands and step forward and back. And, we had to do all this African dancing and whatever for certain songs. And I was like, ugh, I could hardly do it. And, kids would try to help me, and it didn't really work out. I didn't like that, and I didn't really get to know very many of the kids in it, and other than the singing part of the choir, when it was just kind of downtime, I didn't really know what to do with myself, which is still part of my life. um, uh, but so I finally, the choir teacher, I had one choir teacher from seventh to ninth grade that didn't really care slash notice that I was off pitch, but the ninth grade teacher did. I don't know if it's because she was a woman, so she knew more about what my range should have been, or because she cared more. But she noticed that something was wrong, and so she said, I really think you should take voice lessons. So I went to a local music center in Massachusetts called Indian Hill. It's very good. I would highly recommend it. It's expensive, as most music schools are, but I had a very good teacher who was very dedicated to helping me. And she basically, I sang for her, and she said, it seems like there's a lot of tension in your voice, but, at the first lesson, she said, I hear a bigger soprano sound in your voice. And I was like, wow, nobody's ever told me that before. I hardly had any, any higher notes, never mind, sort of like high mid-range notes, never mind high notes. But we worked together for, let's see, I think 5 years. That sounds about right. And little by little, she helped me with the notes. We'd start with really easy songs, and it was really difficult to open up the higher part of my range because it just wasn't used. And in the end, we realized that I probably had a lot of tension in my voice because of holding back emotions, which is a whole other story. But she said, please, that was part of it. And part of it, I also think, and she thought, slash thinks, that it was also because I didn't listen to a lot of music as a kid, and my parents weren't very musical. So, she told me that there's research that shows that when you listen to music, muscles in your throat kind of move as if you're singing it. It's kind of weird, but I guess it's true, and that kind of gets your voice going. And I didn't do a lot of singing with my parents or anything, so at a young age, kids start to sing and that sort of develops their voice, but that kind of never happened with me. So I guess it's a story about why I was having issues, but I don't anymore. Not usually. Sometimes I have what she would call note issues, where I'm convinced that the song has certain that it's a certain notes, and I just can't get those notes out of my head. But it's not the same as like tone deafness or having a not awareness of the pitch is. But that's a common thing. It's not the note issue thing. Um, anyway, so I did that till I was 20, the voice lessons, and then I took a break because I was going to college, and then I in college I studied expressive arts therapy, and I went to Lesley University, as I said in my first video, and expressive arts therapy is really neat. It's using any kind of art form, whether it's art, music, voice voice in itself, which I'll get to, um, dance, drama, sand tray, writing. I think I've covered them all. Um, for a therapeutic purpose, similar to how traditional therapy gets you to open up and express your feelings, but this is just in a different way. And can be used for anyone, groups, families, children, just anyone that finds talking sometimes difficult or just wants to approach things from a different angle. So I took um, uh, in principles and practices of expressive arts therapy on the undergraduate level my freshman year, and I took it on the graduate level this past year, my senior year. I took music therapy, introduction to music therapy. I took poetry therapy, poetry slash bibliotherapy, so writing therapy, which covered writing, poetry, using books in therapy, using short stories in group and individual therapy, different writing prompts, journaling, but also, interestingly enough, films in therapy. So getting people to watch movies and looking at their responses to that. And my instructor, Emily Marsick, who I think is very cool, she works in Mendon, Mass, maybe Westboro, Mass, I think. And I think she's very down to earth and a nice lady. She did a lot of research on this film and therapy thing and wrote her dissertation on it actually. Um, so I took those. I'm trying to think what else I took. Oh, Expressive Arts Studio, which was sort of a more studio course, less reading of stuff and more experiential with the different art forms. And that's basically, I think, all the expressive arts courses I took. That's a lot. um, and I find it really, really fascinating and helpful. And I found it personally helpful. I worked with a dance movement therapist in Concord, Mass. She did more than dance movement therapy, but she's a registered dance movement therapist and also a using all the arts type person, as well as a mental health counselor. Worked with her for I think a little over a year. Found that very helpful. We did sand tray a lot. We did some psychodrama, some role playing. We did movement exercises and just stuff like that. I believe that was all we covered. We used the instruments too. Sometimes at the end of the session we would just chill and I would jam on the drums and the thumb piano. It's very, very neat. Um, uh, but the expressive arts therapy that I'm most passionate about, besides probably writing, is voice movement therapy. And I am not going to go any further into that because I could just talk for hours. I know this has a time limit. Plus, I have a time limit as I have to leave in a few minutes. So I'll just say that to give you guys a little preview, voice movement therapy is using voice and movement to sort of explore your a person's self and what's going on with them, and to sort of expand their understanding of themselves. That's basically a basic definition. Um, and I will just say that it changed my relationship to singing in a big way, in a very good way, and in a way that's in progress, that I'm still sort of integrating and trying to understand. But I love the work. I've been working with someone in it for about a year and a half, and I will totally go into that in much more detail. Both my understanding of what the work is, the different components of it, and how it's practiced, and also my own personal experience with it. And yeah, just recommendations for what someone can expect from my experience of the work and how I've seen it help myself and help others, because I have done some group work in it as well. So to close, I just want to say that if anyone has any creative interests or want enjoying painting, art, music, whatever, any of those things I just talked about, to really pursue it. And even if it's not like, I think people, for good reason, feel like they can't share it with others because there's so much, there's so much, oh, like in singing, oh, the only people that should be singing, is the common judgment is that the only people that should be singing is, the really talented, trained ones, and that's really not true. You know, anyone can probably do any creative art thing if they are interested and want to do it. So I would just encourage people to pursue, what matters to them in that area, even if it's for themselves, and if they want to show it for others, then to find people or practitioners, mentors, helpers in that can be gentle and encouraging versus, cutting them down. But I can see why people, like I said, I can see why people not are shy about it based on like how society sees, you know, what should be presentable in art and, you know, yeah, just the high standards that are out there basically. So, yeah, yay creative arts. Okay, I need to go now and I need to upload this and I need to go get ready to leave. So, I will see you guys later. Have a good night.